Welcome back to another edition of the Kevin Moore Show. Now, on today's show, I'm going to be interviewing the author, Winfrey. Now, Winfrey co-wrote the book on David Wilcock being the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. Now, to give a bit of background on Winfrey, he currently resides in the Arizona area. He is a songwriter, poet, and freelance writer. He is also the co-author of the book, The Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, Interdimensional Communication and Global Transformation. Now, in the book, Winfrey explores the remarkable parallels between the work of David Wilcock and the legendary Edgar Cayce. Now, while he builds a convincing case that the two men share the same source of channeled information and that Wilcock might indeed be Cayce's reincarnation. So, before we go to the interview, I'm going to play back almost 6 minutes of some of David's original channeling where David brings through the Ra group with Winfrey over the phone. Now, this was taped sometime back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So, enjoy my interview with Winfrey.
I am Ra. We greet you in the light and love of the one infinite creator. We communicate now through the entity known as David Wilcock, and we are ready for your first question.
Thank you. Could you explain how in the cosmos you are able to communicate through David?
Material has been covered before, but we shall speak briefly on this point. The connection that we have is what we have previously referred to as a narrow band vibration. This means that the degree to which the in-streaming energies penetrate through the vehicles or layers of the soul within the entity to whom we are speaking requires a very precise bandwidth, if you will, of frequency. This necessitates an extreme purity in the workings and on behalf of the entity doing said channeling process. This does then indicate the degree of difficulty to which such a connection must be secured, by virtue of the fact that it is not a wide stream of available focus. In many other cases of channeling, there is the opportunity for the entity involved to have some degree of free will choice over the wordings and over the precision of thoughts and how they are expressed in their various forms through language as the vehicle. In this case, however, we feed the words into David's mind complex through a very precise process, and each of these words are very carefully chosen. This is the difference, and it requires a higher form of attenuation and focus than other forms of channeling that allow for a greater degree of flexibility, fluidity, and improvisation in the status and nature of the working as such. Does this answer your question, my brother?
On our planet right now, we seem to be in a place of uncertainty in the world. People are afraid of things that are going to happen. People don't know about the future. And the particular topic for this article that this interview is covering is concerning the world in 2003, the changes that are happening in the world, and how people can relate to them. Is that too general to present, to have you discourse on?
We do find that the question bears enough resemblance to an appropriate query as to be worthy of some degree of litigation at this point, so we shall proceed as planned. The litigation that we refer to is that legal work in one who would seek to engender the law of one in mind, body, and spirit focus. This focus then redirects one's vital energies towards the seeking of the original creative thought that unifies the universe in a way that no other thought has or ever will. This original thought is that of unity, of love and wisdom, as the paired components of the photon, which then forms your physical reality system. Understand that the vibratory qualities of your sphere have been in flux for some measure of your years of time, as you would think of it. These changes revolve around the passage of your galaxy, or what you would refer to as solar system, into a higher level of etheric density in what you would refer to as your galaxy of the Milky Way. These zones of energetic density are naturally layered in such a fashion as to appear to be like the pinwheel spiral when seen from the northern galactic pole looking downward. These zones of energetic density are also corresponding with frequencies of consciousness and levels of development within said consciousness. We have spoken before about the degree to which these changes have resulted in the appropriate adjustments to the DNA of the physical bodily form. This is a natural consequence of the changing structures that you are passing into. Many of those on your plane who have studied...
Hi, my name is Winfrey, and I am the principal author of the book about David Wilcock that I wrote with him called The Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce.
Well, there we have it, friends. Somebody wrote a book, so it must be true that David Wilcock is Edgar Cayce reincarnated. I found this channeling of Ra that he did early on in his so-called career, and I thought, oh, we have to listen to this. And I did preview this short clip courtesy of the Kevin Moore show, but we found more. And it's interesting, for those that do not know, David Wilcock started his career being the house boy and errand boy of Carla Rucker from the Law of One group. And Carla would channel, apparently, the Egyptian god Ra. And all of the Law of One material is channeled material that came through Carla Rucker. But while David Wilcock was living, I suppose, with the group, he suddenly starts channeling the god Ra. And this did not go over well with the group, from what I'm told, from an insider of that group, former member of that group. Carla did not agree that he was channeling the same source that she was, and neither did most of the adherents of the Law of One. So basically what happened is David Wilcock tried to cheese on this Carla lady's gig, channeling the Egyptian god Ra. And then the group around that woman who channeled the Egyptian god Ra basically were like, he's not channeling Ra. This is fake. Ours is the real Ra. David Wilcock's channeling the fake Ra. But it is what it is. And interestingly, I find it so funny that when you listen to this word salad nonsensical garbage that David Wilcock is spewing, that's supposed to be coming from a god. And we'll get into this because there's so many things that this Egyptian god Ra talks about that I'm like, why would a god be concerned with this nonsense, right? And it's also interesting that all of the Ra channeling gobbledygook, word salad, new age consciousness nonsense aligns perfectly with a whole bunch of the other gobbledygook, word salad nonsense that David Wilcock says. So what I would ask you, friends, what are the odds that David Wilcock and the Egyptian god Ra have a lot of the same ideas? Imagine that. And also interesting to me that David Wilcock has sort of had these eras, right? Here is the I'm Edgar Casey reincarnated and I'm channeling the Egyptian god Ra era. And interestingly, he pushes this garbage for a while. And when it doesn't really catch on or make him enough money, he's we got to sweep all this new age gobbledygook garbage I was talking about for a few years under the rug and come out with new gobbledygook garbage nonsense. Now, one of the things I asked myself while previewing, I haven't listened to this whole thing. We got a half hour of this nonsense to get through, and we're going to do it. But one of the things, I previewed some of it, and one of the things that struck me was how foolish this sounds, how constructed, bunch of word salad nonsense this sounds. After all, if one was really channeling a god, and this is just my opinion, but because I don't know, what is it like when you channel a god? What kind of information comes through when you're channeling a literal god? I don't think a god would be making up word salad nonsense, talking about vibrations and chakras and all this other nonsense. But it is what it is. And apparently, some people, when they say they channel an alien from another universe or another galaxy. And some people channel a spirit guide, and some people channel an angel. But David Wilcock, he's so important. He's channeling gods, man. And again, the narcissism for somebody to stand up in front of literal audiences of hundreds of people and claim to be able to channel an Egyptian god. That's a little arrogant to me. It's also a little childish and stupid, but it is what it is, and this is where we find ourselves. Interesting to me that David Wilcock, he wants to be the father of anti-gravity and free energy. He doesn't want to be known for channeling the Egyptian god Ra. And he doesn't want any of his current followers to know that besides all this new modern gobbledygook, new age nonsense garbage peddling that he's been doing for the past couple of years, this is what he was doing 10 or 20 years ago. And it's interesting that the new age nonsense, it sort of changes form a little bit. We go from being Edgar. This guy is amazing for his ability to BS people. And then when the BS all falls apart, he just pivots off. He does the David Wilcock shuffle, goes away for a few years, comes back with new, ridiculous, nonsensical stories of why he's some kind of important person. Remember, he's Earth's greatest prophet now. That's what he said. And the latest is that the Archangel Michael told him that he's going to be the father of anti-gravity and free energy. And by the way, tick-tock, David Wilcock, tick-tock, sucker, because you got about 8 months to show the world a hover car, or you're going to look like a foolish idiot. But David Wilcock is no stranger to looking like a foolish idiot. Because after all, tonight we're going to cover him claiming to channel an Egyptian god, friends. He's the conduit. He's so important that out of every human on planet Earth, the Egyptian god Ra, what the hell has the Egyptian god Ra been doing for the last couple thousand years? Nobody knows. But the Egyptian god Ra thought that David Wilcock was so important and so spiritually and vibrationally perfect for this task. We'll hear that. He literally compliments himself as the Egyptian god Ra about how, David Wilcock has the perfect frequency. We heard this in this previous clip. David Wilcock is so goddamn important that an Egyptian god who's kind of been missing in action, I guess, for 2,000 years, nobody's really heard from the Egyptian god Ra. The ancient Egyptian religion, of course, has kind of died off. It's an ancient religion, with all these different gods. And for those unaware, Ra was the most important, some would say, of the Egyptian gods. the sun god, the creator of all life and energy. Very important god. And that very important god apparently has nothing better to do than to infect David Wilcock's body as the host and speak through David Wilcock, because David Wilcock is just so important. Remember, this is just early BS of his. The stories get stupider and stupider as we go on in the David Wilcock is a megalomaniac, narcissistic idiot timeline here. But I thought it important to remind his current viewers who really think that he might be the father of anti-gravity and he might be the father of free energy and he's going to bring us hover cars in the next year. I thought it might be important to those people stupid enough to believe his latest BS. Let's get in it. We're getting in a time machine tonight, just like David Wilcock says is possible, right? We're going to go through a time portal. And we're going to listen to this nonsense, this bunch of gobbledygook, new age nonsense that he was talking all those years ago. And maybe we'll get some context and realize that all David Wilcock does is talk a bunch of gobbledygook word salad new age nonsense. Why is he a millionaire? Why is he charging people $333 for his so-called secret knowledge, right? The last $333 course, he was supposed to teach everybody the secrets to free energy and anti-gravity. It's been 3 months, friends. I don't see anybody building any free energy devices that took David Wilcock's garbage course. I don't see anybody building hover cars and anti-gravity engines based on the secret knowledge that David Wilcock is selling people for $333. He should be ashamed of himself, because he said in the lead up to his last course, you will take my course and you too will be able to do this. He said that. We have it clipped. He said, buy my course and you too will be able to do this. As in, create an anti-gravity engine, create a free energy device. And so far, I don't see any results, which leads me to believe that telling people they're going to be able to build a freaking, why don't you just tell them they're going to build a time machine too, David Wilcock, right? Or a Stargate or a portal too. Or that's probably his next course. But important for us to go through some of this guy's history and see this gobbledygook nonsense bunch of garbage that he strings together. Let's just string all this nonsensical terms together and say I'm channeling a god. I don't think so. I don't think he's channeling anything but his own goddamn imagination here. Of course, I'm very suspect of all channeling, and I've never seen or experienced or looked at or listened to or researched anybody channeling anything that I believe was really channeling another entity. But that's my personal belief, and yours may differ. And after all, it is worthy of note that some people find tremendous value in channeled material. After all, we have the Urantia book. Thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of adherents to that belief system laid out in that book. That is a channeled work. Somebody channeled it. And it was said to come from God and elsewhere. And we also have the Law of One material, and I'm sure many lesser known other channeled works that some people find such tremendous value in that they dedicate their entire lives to it. Me, I don't see it. I don't understand it. I don't understand somebody changing their entire life or forming a religion or a cult around somebody that says they're channeling, for example, the Egyptian god Ra or the Archangel Michael. We've got David Wilcock recently saying that he's channeling Christ or Christ consciousness. So again, we come back to this narcissistic personality disorder of his, which he really should get therapy for. Because if you are so goddamn narcissistic that you truly believe that you're channeling both the Egyptian god Ra, the Archangel Michael later, and then Jesus Christ, something's wrong with your ego, bro. Because how the hell are you so goddamn important that an Egyptian god, the Christian god, and also the greatest angel in God's pantheon, the one true God's pantheon, Archangel Michael, all use you as a conduit to deliver messages to humanity? I'm calling bullshit on all three of those claims of David Wilcock until he can prove any of it, and he never will. But that won't stop him from asking you for more of your hard-earned money so that he could share with you his so-called secret information that is so valuable, he wants you to pay $333 for it. $333? I mean, think about what you could do with $333. I would think that you could do an awful lot more than allow or help David Wilcock live a millionaire's lifestyle off of the backs of stupid people selling this amount of garbage. And that's what it is. It's gobbledygook, garbage nonsense. But we got a lot to get through. So let's, I'm going to put up my fair use banner. This is, of course, a transformative work. We're educating the public about David Wilcock and his gobbledygook nonsense where he claims that he's channeling the Egyptian god Ra. Yeah, let me cue this up and get it ready for you. And, get yourself a beverage, sit back, relax, because this is going to be a funny ride into the mind of a man who just makes shit up and sells it to stupid people. And that's what I get from this. It is imaginary nonsense made up by a guy who wants to be somebody important so desperately, but he's nothing extraordinary. So he's got to make extraordinary claims to feel special and important, perhaps. Yeah. The only thing I'm channeling lately is some of my favorite albums, right? That energy. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Let's just get into it, friends. Let's get into it. And I want to thank everybody for being here. But we got a great audience again tonight. And it just keeps, I'm looking at the counter, it just keeps rising. Got almost 100 in the live chat right now. I'm sure we'll get better than that. And I am amazed that there's people all over the world that want to tune in and see what I have to say about this guy. Again, he's channeling the god Ra. And besides channeling the god Ra, remember, he has just a little under 8 months, I believe, to show us all a hover car so he doesn't look foolish. But again, we're going to cover this tonight. Isn't it foolish to be running around telling people you're channeling the Egyptian god Ra? And if you could really do that, wouldn't you keep doing it? Why would you suddenly stop doing it? Or is it because this gobbledygook new age nonsense didn't take hold well, didn't sell much, so he moved on to new gobbledygook nonsense? All right, David Wilcock channeling the Egyptian god Ra. Here we go. And I apologize for the audio quality, of course, but let me try that one more time. I apologize for the audio quality, but this is a recording from a long time ago. And Spooky did something fun, making it like we're playing a record of David Wilcock channeling the Egyptian god Ra. It's great. Fair use. We're educating the public.
I am Ra. It is an honor and a privilege to greet you this day in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Resonant raindrops, liquid light cascading down in a panoply of shapes and colors, unbeknownst to the conscious mind. The world of energy that you dance through may be invisible to your physical eyes.
So we danced through a cascade of invisible energy, and we can't see it. And the invisible god Ra talks the Egyptian god Ra apparently talks just like every other crystal hippie weirdo at a New Age conference, right? Is that a little suspect that they talk a lot alike? I don't know.
Of the flesh, but to the inner eye of soul, there are tides and currents of change and transformation that ripple through the collective consciousness of Earth, much like a hot air balloon rises through layers of the atmosphere, some warmer, some colder.
And one might ask themselves, why the hell would an Egyptian god be talking about helium balloons or hot air balloons? But okay.
As you go on this sacred journey into yourself, through these places in time, you experience more than just a reunion with aspects of yourself long ago distanced. You have the opportunity to experience directly other areas of the Earth's grid, wherein there are unique vortices of cosmic influx, bespeaking of a variety of cultures and heritages, both past, present, and future.
Sorry, I was muted there. And please don't call me. So I got to say, this is already terrible, because if you really want people to believe you that you're channeling an ancient Egyptian god, why would the ancient Egyptian god talk in English, right? Wouldn't it be able to speak like ancient Sumerian or ancient Egyptian? And wouldn't that be a lot more believable if he channeled in that language, right? And then translated it to all modern languages? Of course it would. But that would require a lot of rehearsal and energy and effort. So David Wilcock just thinks that everybody's stupid and believes that apparently the ancient Egyptian god Ra speaks perfect English and New Age nonsense on top of it. Great.
This time on the planet is one of spontaneous regeneration, of many forgotten truths and teachings. It is a time in which the future and the past begin melding together as one. For the science of the ancient civilizations, those who had gone before, is again becoming renewed, clearer and clearer to the minds of those who awaken on the brink of a new dawning for humanity.
All right, we're a little over 2 minutes and 30 seconds in. And so far, the Egyptian god Ra hasn't said anything. I mean, what is he saying here? It's New Age word salad nonsense. I mean, okay, yeah, we're awakening and we're regenerating and what? Okay.
For this time, this place is not one of failure. It is not one in which you look at the weather changes, the political changes, and the economic changes, and the social changes with a scorning eye of disdain, but rather one of hopefulness, optimism, peace, and truth in the knowingness of the longevity of the human soul, which cannot be defiled, cannot be divided, will always and ever remain a point of power that uniquely situates you in the present moment if you but allow it to pour forth from that everlasting cornucopia of oneness that seems to be shrouded.
That one was good. The everlasting cornucopia of oneness. The everlasting cornucopia of oneness. What does that mean? I mean, we could break it down word by word, but really it's just a bunch of New Age words glued together, I guess, right?
In mystery for the short time that you remain encased in flesh. There is a life beyond this life in which the limbs of the tree of knowledge stretch forth into the heavens.
There we go again. The limbs of the tree of knowledge spread forth into the heavens. this is a lot like a lot of other channelings I've heard. A bunch of nonsense, new age, sounds good, makes you feel good, right?
And once more you intermingle with the clouds themselves and become one with the resonant goodness of this creation in all of its many multiplicities of form and contrast. Yours is an awakening world, and with the awakening comes the pangs of remembrance.
And again, he's talking about the awakening, which could also be interpreted as the ascension, which is something that he pushed for quite a long time. And I mentioned him, looking and sounding foolish. Remember, this is the same man, this man right here who's channeling the Egyptian god Ra in this recording is also the same guy who told us all that we were all going to ascend and get superpowers in the year 2012. And none of that happened. And I'm guessing that nothing that this Egyptian god Ra channeling says comes true or matters at all. So far, we're almost 4 minutes in, and it's a bunch of feel-good nonsense glued together terms of, new age consciousness gobbledygook.
Of long ages since forgotten, in which there was a greater connection to others and to your own higher self. Much as the body of the tropical fish slices through the waters without ever thinking that the waters even exist, so too do you move through the world of spirit, and rarely, if ever, notice that in fact this energy of consciousness is not a philosophical abstraction constrained within the boundaries of unwieldy mathematical equations.
Oh, God. I don't know how much of this I could take. This is terrible. Why am I doing this? Why are we all doing this? But we got to keep going.
From physicists whose musings are far from a conceptual model that others can actually understand. This is a living science. It is a science that allows your consciousness to centralize to a point of stillness and peace and equilibrium within yourself. It is a science of consciousness that brings out the noblest qualities in your character.
The science of consciousness brings out the noblest qualities in your character. That's a nonsensical statement. Why would a god make a totally nonsensical statement like that? This defies interpretation.
For as you learn to find your car keys, you realize that it's not so difficult getting a parking spot as much as it is taking the initiative to get back into that vehicle that moves forward.
Yeah, why would the Egyptian god Ra be concerned with people finding their keys or finding a parking space? Does this sound like the way an Egyptian god would speak to humans if he did want to communicate a message? And wouldn't that message be more important than you got to find your keys, you got to find that parking spot, you got to get back in that car and keep moving forward? Keep moving forward is a new age nonsensical talking point that many people use or self-help people use. Why would the Egyptian god Ra be talking like Tony Robbins? Get your car keys, get that parking spot, get in that car and keep moving forward. It seems nonsensical to me that an Egyptian god would be using the same speaking points that somebody like Tony Robbins would use. But, I'm not an expert on Egyptian gods or how they talk or whether they speak perfect English. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's really channeling a god here who's very concerned about us finding our car keys and getting back in the car and keeping moving.
Where no one has gone before and to find...
He just used Star Trek. We've got to go boldly, friends. We've got to go boldly where no one has gone before. The Egyptian god Ra is using Star Trek lines here while he is being channeled through the magnificent David Wilcock, the world's worst psychic. And I'm going to say he's the world's worst psychic and the world's worst channeler because he's got the Egyptian god Ra spewing lines from Star Trek. We've all got to go boldly where no one has gone before, friends.
It's a new frontier.
It's a new frontier.
To seek beyond limitations imposed by your day-to-day life, by the constraints of working in a box, living in a box, being entertained by a colored glass box, and eating out of a box.
Well, it appears that the Egyptian god Ra is very concerned with boxes. After all, yeah, I guess I did a cubicle job. You work in a box, you live in a box, you eat from a box, you watch a box. That's the problem. The Egyptian god Ra is so concerned with humanity, living in boxes, eating out of boxes, watching boxes, that he's got to channel himself through David Wilcock and save us all from this terrible world of boxes.
The box breaks down, and rolling fields and verdant green emerald forests rise into view with the splendor of a million suns that have nourished them, patterns of twinkling light in the night sky. For you are a cosmic being, not alone in this creation, in this cosmos.
Yeah, and you see how this stuff is specifically designed for vulnerable people? People living in a box, right? People working in a box, people depressed, hopeless, right? And they're looking for something. And here's David Wilcock with the Egyptian god Ra to give everybody a shout of hopium. Those boxes are going to empty into these beautiful fields and twinkling stars, and everything's great. And you are more than somebody that lives in a box, and you're so special. It's cultic nonsense.
There is so much company all around you, and it is certainly worth your while to remember that fact. You have this galaxy, which is a loose arrangement of all the stars that you see in your solar system, and in other solar systems just like it. And that galaxy is but one pinprick in an unbelievable multitude of others like it.
Why would the Egyptian god Ra be concerned with teaching humanity cosmology when we're already aware of these things, like multiple galaxies and the vastness of the universe, right? Wouldn't he bring some knowledge, some sacred or divine knowledge that we don't already know? He's just going to repeat things we know. Hey, by the way, humans, I know you built some telescopes, right? But I'm the Egyptian god Ra, and I just want to make sure that you know that you guys are right, that there's multiple galaxies. It's so stupid and childish and nonsensical.
Galaxy is in and of itself a creator in its own right, capable of setting forth a series of templates, archetypes, by which soul evolution will be determined. Each soul goes through these archetypal patterns of enlightenment and development. By learning those archetypes, as expressed in the 22 cards of the major arcana of the tarot deck, you learn.
The tarot was an invention of man. So why would an Egyptian god be so concerned with a deck of cards created by men to tell the future? Wouldn't he have a better divination method, or is it just me? Yeah, I don't know. 1 second. All right. I don't know how much more of this I could take. Let's keep going. We're 7 minutes in, and so far he said a bunch of nonsense. That's how I can summarize. The Egyptian god Ra is so concerned with humanity's path and development and wants to help humanity that he's got to channel through David Wilcock, the world's worst psychic, and tell us almost nothing for 7 minutes.
About all of the classic experiences that will come your way from one moment to the next. And find out that some kitties don't need a scratching post in order to make sure that their claws are sharp.
Oh, this is great. So some kitties, that's some Egyptian god wisdom. Some kitties don't need a scratching post to know that their claws are sharp. I don't know what a god talks like, but I don't think they talk like this. Though Jesus did use a lot of parables so that people could understand the message. I mean, maybe that's what he's trying to do here. He's trying to have the Egyptian god Ra tell us that some kitties don't need scratching posts to know their claws are... God, this is garbage.
Some animals have the capability to go into the wild, to their natural habitat, no longer feeling in captivity by the fact that you have a physical body, no longer needing to sharpen your claws on television and other mundane forms of entertainment. You can still bring that body of yours outside the box, go somewhere new and exciting, experience the energies of a foreign land, meet the people, shake their hands, smell their skin, look into their eyes, and feel something. Feel that connection, feel that bond, and feel the trust that can arise. You can go on this journey in your own mind, and you can travel there in the physical if you desire.
Travel where? I'm confused already.
And as the horn blows, signifying the trumpets of revelation, the revelation of all that has remained hidden, as the seals are opened, and as the gateway to the entrance to fourth density is made plain.
Yeah, this is nonsense as well, because why would an Egyptian god be quoting Christian scriptures here? Wouldn't an Egyptian god, I mean, after all, the ancient Egyptian religion had nothing to do with Christianity. So why would an Egyptian god be speaking and talking about Christian mythology? Wouldn't they have their own mythology? I would think that they would have their own mythology and not be repeating Christian mythology, right? Wouldn't he repeat his own mythology? Like, you know, he's the sun god and I don't know. Why would he quote Jesus? You know, why would he quote the Christian Bible? Unless David Wilcock was too lazy to get his channeled god Ra to talk like an Egyptian god actually might talk, or quote Egyptian scriptures and religious beliefs. So he just threw in some accepted Christian, almost archetype, right? Yeah, the trumpets and the seals open, that's Revelations. That's the book of John.
Be not afraid of those hungry ghosts that curl up by the curbside of your road to enlightenment. Look not into their...
Those hungry ghosts that curl up by the roadside to enlightenment. Yeah, the dark forces try to stop you from reaching your full potential. Sounds like Tony Robbins again.
Disheveled faces, but forward, onward and upward. For there are those you can focus your attention on at this time. There are those who are learning and are benefiting from the service that you give them. So when you place your service in a direction that is of benefit to those who are making good use of it, and good being determined by the fact that they too are growing spiritually, then you know that you are on the right track. Bear in mind that you may also discover yourself becoming attached and tethered to others who only seek to extract from you whatever you will give.
You know, and again, I think he's talking about himself here. You know, oh, those negative forces, they only want... Why would the Egyptian god... This makes absolutely no sense. So far, we've got not one tiny, tiny little tidbit of Egyptian mythology, right? It's like Thor coming through. It's like somebody channeling the Thor, the Norse god of thunder, and the Norse god of thunder just talking like a new age idiot. This does not make any sense, David Wilcock. You need to write better scripts of this garbage.
And it is all too easy for them to take advantage of your kind and courteous nature, and in so doing, flip the coin heads or tails, while rigging the game so that they somehow always end up winning in the end. There is a time to withdraw from a situation. There is a time to pull back. There's a time to create space. There's a time to feed yourself strawberries, to allow yourself time to relax, time to be in a peaceful moment.
Oh, this is wonderful. So, hey, don't you worry about anything going on in your life, right? Don't worry about your kids or money or your bills or your car that's falling apart, or, you know, your relationships with other people that aren't good, or your job laying you off and firing you, or your health. Don't worry about any of that. Just eat some strawberries and relax. The Egyptian... Jesus Christ, David Wilcock, this is so terrible. The Egyptian god Ra is so concerned with humanity not worrying and doing better that the Egyptian god Ra had to channel himself into David Wilcock, a younger David Wilcock. But still, he had to channel himself into a younger David Wilcock so that he could tell us to eat some strawberries and relax. That's what gods spend their time doing. They spend their time possessing psychic hosts like David Wilcock, who's so important. And they do it because they want to tell us that we have to not worry. We have to just eat strawberries and relax. That's why the Egyptian god had to channel himself into David Wilcock to bring us this message is so goddamn important. I gotta channel myself into David Wilcock right now because all these humans need to know that sometimes you just need to eat some goddamn strawberries and relax.
Of solitude. Life doesn't always offer you those opportunities, and therefore we suggest that you learn to create them, even if they otherwise would not exist. For you are the one who chooses to feel stress in your day-to-day existence. You are the one who does not allow the natural blossoming of experience to unfold like a beautiful flower in your hand, warmed by the sun, and the teardrops of water that trickle down from the sky. This is your life, and you can plunge down to the depths of the crystal blue ocean and find that pearl of greatest price that is locked within your emotional body.
There's a pearl of something, and it's locked within our emotional body, and we need to dive down into the blue ocean to get the pearl of wisdom. That's what he was trying to tell humanity, the Egyptian god Ra. That, and don't worry, eat strawberries and relax. You choose to stress yourself, you could be eating strawberries and relaxing.
For by cleansing the emotions, by realizing how much the emotions are attached to the body, and how much they wish to preserve the sanctity and security of the body, you can allow some of that burden to lighten. Realize that you are far more than just the ego mind with which you think and react. There are aspects of your being that are far greater in their grandiose scope and focus than you could ever conceive of, because the neurological capacity of your own higher self is many orders of magnitude greater than could ever be contained within the limited constraints of the human brain. And yet the fact that you are, with limitation, is part of your sacred journey. At this stage of your development, you have chosen this body, chosen this life, chosen this incarnation to learn lessons. One of those basic lessons is that you do have a world of cause and effect. That cause and effect principle is not some impersonal universal law that has no mitigation involved. It is very carefully balanced out and weighted out by those who are looking at both sides of the story and trying to determine what is best for you. There are committees that meet over your life and discuss what path to take next.
So, according to the Egyptian god Ra, there's a whole committee of spiritual entities, and they have meetings to decide where to take your weight. But that would mean we don't have any free will because the committee decides. And again, this is nonsense.
You are on a path of spiritual awakening. Trust us when we tell you that there are board meetings, there are issues to discuss, there are agendas to raise, there are a variety of approaches that are hypothetically thought about and tossed around before they are actually put into practice. And yet,
the Egyptian god Ra is having board meetings, according to David Wilcock. Why would an Egyptian god have board meetings? And he says us. I thought you're channeling one god. How many gods is David Wilcock channeling here? This shit is getting confusing.
And in many cases, we find the inhibitions of fear prevent others from going to the places and meeting the people that would quite naturally bring them to the next step. So we encourage you to be fluid and mobile. We encourage you to be open to new experiences. We encourage you not to fall into the storied old habit patterns of the way things always have been done, where you always are at a certain point in time.
Yeah, and again, we get this Tony Robbins treatment here. Why would the Egyptian god Ra talk like a self-help coach? Right? The Egyptian god Ra thought, you know what? Humanity's on a wrong path. And apparently, Tony Robbins is not enough to tell them not to fall into old negative patterns. So I got to channel myself. I'm going to possess David Wilcock, that psychic sumbitch. I'm going to possess the psychic sumbitch, David Wilcock. And I'm going to make him talk like a puppet, like sticking your hand up David Wilcock's head. Oh, man, that just brought up really bad imagery. But still, I'm the Egyptian god Ra, so I'm going to put my hand up David Wilcock's butt and make him talk. But it's me talking, not David Wilcock, because I possess this psychic sumbitch. And now I'm going to talk just like Tony Robbins and tell humanity not to fall into old negative patterns of bad behavior, just like Tony Robbins tells people not to do. Because this makes all kinds of sense, doesn't it?
I'm at a certain day in a certain place. It's okay to add random acts of unexpected twists to the storyline of your life. It's okay to do something totally different. It's okay to take a dinner, an ordinary event, and just get up and go. Get into the car, go somewhere, do something totally unexpected. Spontaneity can be a wonderful thing in life. It can be a wonderful experience to allow that feeling of being on vacation to carry with you.
Oh my God.
Because in reality, we expect nothing.
Apparently, the Egyptian god Ra also wants us to enjoy life and feel like we're on vacation. Because this makes total sense, right? Be spontaneous. Feel like you're on vacation. Allow yourself to have some fun. The Egyptian god Ra was so concerned with the human race not having enough vacations or spontaneity or having enough fun that he had to channel himself through the world's worst psychic, David Wilcock, to tell us all about it.
Nothing less than the best for you. And every day, every moment of every day is a vacation. Once you attain the consciousness that you have never been separated from the Creator. You have always been one. There is no boundary distinction between yourself and the others around you. You are whole, and you are pure, and you are complete in this moment. That is the greater truth that eviscerates those who do not choose to be honest with themselves. It can also become your greatest asset and ally under the proper circumstances. And that propriety is determined by your own ability to step beyond the blockages of the emotional body, which come up by the reactions that you choose to have to the events in your life. You choose to feel hurt. You choose to feel guilty. You choose to feel fear. You choose to feel betrayed. You choose to feel anger and rage. These emotions do not need to happen. They are the manifestations of your ego and it is a state of imbalance.
Imagine the ego of a man who's going to talk about people having big egos while he's channeling an Egyptian god, right? It's the ego. That's your problem. Your problem is your ego, right? Maybe, just maybe, there's a couple of Freudian slips in here and his own subconscious is doing this, is saying this shit, and not some Egyptian god.
And that state of imbalance can be created by a variety of different factors that all coalesce together to make you who you are. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to embrace your distortions. And once you become aware of what those distortions are, honoring the fact that this is your sacred quest, this is your sacred path, you can also learn to step beyond them. You can learn to see a bigger picture, to move outside the limited definition of the fisheye lens of life that once seemed to be so all-encompassing, to realize that it is only but a peephole in the doorway. The door is now opening, and as it opens, beams of light shine forth upon you.
Oh, love and light! There's beams of light shining forth upon you. Where did we hear this stuff before? Oh, at every New Age nonsense conference that since New Age nonsense conferences started.
Filling you with radiant peace and happiness. reminding you of all that you are, because you are truly loved more than you could ever possibly imagine. Your divine grace and splendor is unchallenged to us.
And again, this whole gobbledygook nonsense is specifically designed for people that are in, let's just say, emotional or psychological distress, people that feel hopeless and unloved. Oh no, you are more loved than you know.
We feel nothing but peace and warmth and love and acceptance of you. And it is so difficult for us to truly express that when there is so much chaos and turmoil and dis-ease upon your planet. It is not easy for us.
So because there's so much distress and turmoil on our planet, the gods are finding it hard to express their love for us. Well, this is another nonsensical statement because he's channeling through a human. Can't you just have David Wilcock tell us that all the gods love you? But you just did. So why is it so difficult? Because you just did it. None of this makes any sense. Don't try to make sense of this shit. This is garbage.
To convey to you the full scope to which you are being served and guided and protected. Certainly you can look at your life and see events that happen that are unpleasant, and recognize that this law of karma that at times brings those challenging events into your life only does so in its attempt to bring you back into balance once more.
And again, the law of karma would be Eastern philosophy, not ancient Egyptian philosophy. Not sure what the Egyptians thought on the so-called law of karma, but why would an Egyptian god be speaking about Eastern beliefs and philosophies or Buddhist beliefs and philosophies? This isn't a Buddhist god. David Wilcock, you gotta work harder. You should have looked up some Egyptian stuff. So far, David Wilcock has the Egyptian god Ra talking about Jesus and the Bible and Revelations and the trumpets and the seals. Now he's got the Egyptian god Ra talking about karma and shit from Eastern religions. This is terrible fan fiction, David Wilcock. This is terrible. Why would the Egyptian god Ra be quoting Christian Bible or quoting Buddhist beliefs and philosophies when he's got his own beliefs? That they had their own culture? David Wilcock, did you not even look anything up? Right? There are Egyptian beliefs about life after death and what happens to us. And so far, the Egyptian god Ra hasn't said any of that stuff. He's too busy telling us about the Bible and Jesus prophecies and the book of Revelations and Buddhist beliefs about karma.
For when you achieve balance, you achieve the state of preservation, of that remembrance of your true identity. So in balance, you remember who you are. And that memory is a glorious gift that many souls lost in depravity upon your planet can only attempt to throw money at. Sometimes lots and lots and lots of money.
Okay, so we've got to be in balance to find our true selves. What does that mean? We've got to be in balance to find our true selves. Again, the people who channel throw out really vague nonsense so that it will resonate with some people. Like maybe some people are feeling a little off balance, maybe too many negative influences in their life, right? And they got to get back into balance. And then they hear David Wilcock claiming to channel the Egyptian god Ra, saying the same thing they're thinking. Oh yeah, this resonates with me. This teaching of David Wilcock's, it really resonates with me right now. Wait, throw enough nonsense against the wall, right? Throw enough stuff, something's going to stick. This is a lot like cold reading, but in a much different way.
In an attempt to buy their way into the happiness that seems to be so spontaneous and natural to others. It is all too common for you to look upon certain people who seem to have a good life on Earth and imagine for a moment what it would be like if you were in their shoes, and think how much better your life might be. Yet your own statisticians have shown time and time again that the excess of profits, the excess of money, and the compulsive pursuit of same oftentimes leads to a shackled prison of the mind that is no better than any other experience.
And this is another interesting point, because apparently David Wilcock is channeling the Egyptian god Ra. And this is many years ago, telling everybody, don't worry about money and don't pursue money, because money is not going to bring you happiness, and it's going to bring you down. The relentless pursuit of money and financial things and, I suppose, worldly pleasures, right? Money. You don't need money. Money's not going to bring you happiness. Then why is David Wilcock selling crap for $333 if he doesn't need money to be happy? If he doesn't want money to be happy? So it's very clear that David Wilcock doesn't even follow his own crappy teachings, because if he did, he'd be giving this crap away, because money isn't going to make him happy and it's only going to bring him down. But here we get to the hypocrisy of David Wilcock telling people, as the Egyptian god Ra, don't worry about money. It's only going to bring you down, while he's begging everybody for money constantly. It's awesome.
As we did say on the What Is My Purpose CD, one of David's clients was in a trailer park, and on the same day he had another client who had a mansion. And it was very difficult to tell the two apart, because their mindset and their issues and their struggles were almost identical. This is not to insult those who have little money or those who have a great deal of money.
So the Egyptian god Ra is very concerned about two of David Wilcock's psychic reading clients, right? Because that makes total sense. An Egyptian god Ra, he's not busy at all. He's got all the time in the world to keep up with David Wilcock's clients that he's given fake psychic readings to.
As each person finds themselves at a state that they need to be in for that level of their learning curriculum, it is okay to have desires. It is okay to seek something. It is okay to pursue ways in which you can be more comfortable. Providing, of course, that if you desire to be on the positive path, you bear in mind that these efforts can always be adjusted in such a means as to figure out time and again how you may better be of service to others.
Oh, there we have it. The law of one: be more of service to others than service to self. Well, at least he's finally connected something. We're up to 18 minutes in, and that's the first thing he said that actually agrees with the law of one material, I suppose. Yeah.
How you may better become an embodiment of the very principles that you teach and espouse to others. This is not a time of failure and regret, but a time of opening the eyes to the newness of the wonder that this earth will become. For when this shift to fourth density that is so well anticipated and prophesied actually happens, you do not leave the earth. The earth does not become uninhabitable by any means. The earth becomes activated for life in fourth density.
This is directly contradictory to his later 2012 garbage gobbledygook nonsense, where we're all supposed to ascend to the fourth density and get superpowers. This may be an earlier incarnation of that BS garbage story that he came up with later, or pulled out and changed and tweaked slightly, right? It's so funny that the Egyptian god Ra contradicts David Wilcock from, a few years later when he was selling the 2012 prophecy garbage for years.
A life that is easily 100 times more harmonious than your life on Earth now could ever be. The planet itself is transformed, becomes new, becomes whole in a way that it never before has understood. Because the planet itself is a sentient, conscious being. And that being right now is still a third density being that is awakening to fourth density.
The whole earth is awakening. It's not just the rest of the human race. The whole earth is awakening. And again, this new world that we're going to enter into very soon, it's going to be 100 times better than your current life. Of course, again, hopium for the hopeless. all these people who are distraught, psychologically, damaged, maybe suffering from mental illness or depressed, hating their lives. This is hopium nonsense. Don't worry about your shitty life, because pretty soon the whole world's going to change and we're all going to ascend in the fourth dynasty and your life's going to be 100 times better. Buy my CD, buy my book, right?
Some ways you could think of the Earth like a person. It has feelings, it has fears, it has doubts. But unlike each human being, it is on a set linearized curriculum of evolution, whereas graduation day is known precisely in advance.
Graduation
timed very accurately. The Earth moves through its growth pains, and many of you will find yourselves tuning into its energies and essences, finding the roots of your being, going deep down into the center of the Earth itself. Your guidance and your connection will be stronger and purer and more complete as you learn to work with this ally, this sentient being that loves you and that provides you with fertile soil, with vegetables and fruits, with the animals of the field, the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and all the plentiful bounty
Aliens
that is the birthright of each person comes here to be able to share in this natural abundance. As you have seen in your sojourns on Earth, it is a beautiful place with emerald green forests.
Again with the emerald green forest. You already said that, David Wilcock. We're going to get out of our shitty cubicles. We're going to stop eating out of boxes. We're going to stop watching boxes, living in boxes. The world is a box. It's terrible. Your life sucks. We're all going to go into the emerald green forests.
And alpine mountains.
Oh, we're going to have mountains too.
With rollicking sand dunes and little crabs that scuttle along
little
the surface.
crabs. We're going to get... Wait a minute. I don't like this. We're all going to get crabs? The Egyptian god Ra said we're all going to get little crabs. That's usually not a good thing, David Wilcock. Getting crabs is not a good thing.
Great ancient landworks, rainforests, tall, gigantic trees, beautiful Adirondack forests, rolling green mountains, and also at times thrusting mountains, bold, stone hewn from the very bowels of the earth itself. There are areas where there are hurricanes, there are areas where there are typhoons, mudslides, volcanoes, etc. But these areas are not simply defined by what goes wrong in them. They are defined by the activity and the energy that is pulsing through them, the very heartbeat of this planet.
Oh, God. I guess he's describing the coming apocalypse that's coming soon, because everybody was thinking about that at the time of this recording.
Imagine yourself now smiling with this sentient being, because it smiles at you. It feels you as you walk upon its surface, its back. It is with you. It thinks with you. It feels with you. Wherever you go, you are intimately connected to it. And you can help that being by working through your own issues in your own life. Sometimes you may have these grandiose goals for yourself and think that you cannot accept yourself as you are unless you accomplish X, Y, and Z.
David Wilcock's talking about having grandiose goals for himself as he's channeling an Egyptian god. If he could like mark that off his list of grandiose goals, channel the things to do before I die. Channel the Egyptian god Ra. Yeah, I would think that would be a grandiose goal. So David Wilcock can scratch that one off. This is him channeling an Egyptian god. And apparently we're 22 minutes and 25 seconds in, and the Egyptian god Ra hasn't had much to say except love yourself, life sucks, relax and eat some strawberries, and ascension is coming, and we're all going to go live in the emerald forests, right?
In a certain linear order. But this is only a partial truth. For outside of all your ambitions and outside of all lofty goals that you may have set for yourself,
lofty goals? Yeah, like channeling an Egyptian god, David Wilcock. That's a lofty goal. He's going to sit here and like counsel and talk to people who have goals that are too lofty. While he's channeling an Egyptian god, he's going to talk down to people that have lofty goals.
There is a moment. There is a peaceful moment that exists right now as you hear these words, and in that moment is completion. In that moment is renewal. In that moment is glory and joy and bounty and happiness. A peace that empties forth from the collective consciousness of this universe if you simply allow yourself to be one with its energy and its essence. There's nothing very difficult about this. These shoes are soft and comfortable. They are not wooden and hard and difficult.
Don't worry, everybody. These shoes are soft and comfortable. They're not hard and wooden. Why the hell would an Egyptian god be talking about wooden shoes, David Wilcock? This is nonsense. What is this nonsense that you put out into the universe? Why did you put this bunch of nonsense out in the universe? Why the hell would an Egyptian god be talking about comfortable shoes instead of why would he be concerned with us wearing comfortable shoes, David Wilcock, and eating strawberries and relaxing? This is so stupid. Why am I listening to this garbage? I don't know. I can't stop now. We're almost done. We're 23 minutes into this nonsensical journey of gobbledygook, new age word salad, bunch of nonsense.
And you know this path, my friend. You've walked it on many occasions.
All right,
you have been to the mountaintops.
Yeah.
You have been through the deserts. You have swum the seas and the oceans, and the freshwater lakes, rivers, and streams. You have been among the rocks, been among the soils, been among the growing crops. You've had lifetimes where you farmed these crops.
Oh, our past lives. Our past lives. This makes no sense again, because I'm not sure that the Egyptian god Ra would believe that past lives exist, because near as I can remember from Egyptian mythology, you die and then you go to another world. You don't come back. So why would an Egyptian god be contradicting his own mythology? Again, David Wilcock doesn't do his homework.
Milled the grain.
Reincarnation is just a new age talking point, so he threw it in there. In error. Now, I don't know for sure that an Egyptian god wouldn't believe in reincarnation, but I know that in Egyptian mythology, I don't believe that they believed in reincarnation in many past lives. I believe that they believed you lived and you died and you went to another world. Egyptian Book of the Dead. Guess you didn't read that one.
And created the bread with your own hands, baking it up in a clay-fired oven so as to heal others with the glory that rises forth when you combine your own energies in such a way as to provide sustenance to others.
All right, so we got to bake some spiritual bread in a clay oven in order to provide sustenance to others. That is what the Egyptian god wants to do. Bake bread in a clay oven, and as it rises, oh man, this is terrible. Terrible writing. He needs a better writer or something.
And that divine gift, that manna from the heavens, reaches down now as it is tangibly able to be experienced in this moment.
Yeah, we got another reference to Jewish religious tradition in the form of manna. And by the way, if the Hebrews were the slaves that then went through the Exodus and got manna from heaven, why would the Egyptian god Ra be talking about manna from another god? That's a different book, David Wilcock. You didn't read any of the Egyptian books, dummy. That's called the Jewish Bible. Manna comes from the Jewish tradition. It comes from their mythology, their Bible, their holy scriptures and books. Not any Egyptian gods' holy scriptures and books. So far, this Egyptian god hasn't mentioned anything from Egyptian mythology or beliefs or spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs or beliefs about what happens after you die once. But he keeps on mentioning Jewish stuff, Buddhist stuff, Christian stuff. Makes no sense. You know, an Egyptian god should talk about Egyptian stuff. That's just my take on it. I don't think David Wilcock did any homework at all. I think he pressed record and recorded this gobbledygook nonsense. That's what I think happened.
With your own reconciliation of all these different pathways of seeking. Sometimes you assign yourself too many goals, too many ambitions, and it's okay to come to a grander scope where you can just accept yourself for who you are, for how you've been, and move on to the next step. Don't take yourself under such a microscope. Some of those goals were
Yes, actually, Rogue Status, as I recall, when you died, according to Egyptian mythology, they weighed your heart. And if the good things that you've done in your life outweigh the bad things you've done in your life, you could pass through to the afterlife. Otherwise, you went to the Egyptians' version of hell, I suppose. So there's that, and he hasn't mentioned any of that.
Born from a time that you hadn't fully awakened spiritually, so that you now can understand that you can simply be yourself. You can just be, and beingness is enough. For in your beingness, in the radiant peace of simply being you, you have fulfilled all of the conflicts. You have satisfied all of the dangling question marks. And you know the future, because it is the present. It is the now. This process of ascension we so often speak of need not be far away from you. You can but stretch forth your hand and experience it in this moment. The healing energy is available in plentiful abundance for all those who would seek it. And that process cannot be undermined. It cannot be shortchanged. It is always and ever omnipresent. And it is available for you. So take a few moments as you hear these words to let yourself have some deep breaths. Feel the gratitude for the earth.
I'm sorry. Isn't it funny that David Wilcock, when he's channeling the Egyptian god Ra, sounds exactly like David Wilcock when he's doing one of his world peace meditations, right? That's not suspect at all, right? It just so happens that the Egyptian god Ra speaks exactly like David Wilcock when he's holding a meditation.
Feel the gratitude for the sacred places where the earth's energies have been honored with ancient structures and ancient peoples who worked in harmony with this creation. You are the new tribe. You are coming together, each in your own way, with the awakening body of humanity that will occupy this new world that is forming. And you need not be fearful about it. You need not allow your emotions to be clouded and muddied up by the worry that plagues so many others. For all is happening on schedule, all is happening according to a perfect plan. As you breathe your own ascension through every fiber of your being, you come to a greater and greater consciousness of the full capacity that you have to accept yourself just as you are, and the glory and the beauty. And
now he sounds like he's channeling Mr. Rogers, right? You're special, just the way you are. You are, look, the Egyptian god Ra wants us to understand that Mr. Rogers is right. You're special just the way you are, right? You're special just the way you are. So why would a god talk like Mr. Rogers? Why would a god talk like Mr. Rogers, David Wilcock? This doesn't make any sense.
Wonder that makes you truly yourself. And that self is with a capital S, because ultimately you are not anything other than one with this entire cosmos. Even the energy of the cosmos is conscious, and it fuses with you. There is no separation. For us, we cannot see it any other way. In your own realm, you have the opportunity to experience apparent separation, to feel lonely, isolated, and abandoned. But this is but a fleeting moment in time. It is a moment that can be transcended when you just allow the peace to empty forth and fill you with the renewal, fill you with the promise of who you were always meant to be. And that is such a glorious thing, such a glorious event. There is nothing but wonder in this realization. We are so very grateful to have had the opportunity to share these messages of peace and hope with you this day.
The Egyptian god Ra is very grateful that he could use his holy vessel, David Wilcock, to share this so very important message of peace and love and greater understanding, and telling you that you got to eat strawberries and relax, bro.
I want you to trust that this will always be remembered. That you may always know that you are loved more than you could ever possibly imagine. If you share that with us, then you have assimilated a very significant percentage of the entire message. We thank you and remind you that you are loved more than you could ever possibly imagine. Peace be with you in the light of everlasting love. We will now return conscious control of this physical body to the one known as David. We thank you. Amen. And amen.
Oh no! So the Ra thanks David Wilcock for bringing us this very important message. And remember, the very important message is you gotta eat strawberries and relax more. Okay? That's the important message. This message was so important that an Egyptian god had to possess a human in the form of David Wilcock and make him speak this very important message of eat strawberries and relax more. Okay? Now, I'm going to take the fair use banner down. Wow. We made it through. I'm proud. I didn't think I thought I was going to check out. We made it through this word salad bunch of nonsensical ramblings that David Wilcock claims. David Wilcock claims this is him channeling the Egyptian god Ra, even though the Egyptian god Ra didn't mention anything Egyptian, didn't speak Egyptian, didn't sound Egyptian, didn't act Egyptian, I guess. I don't know. What does an Egyptian act like? Didn't walk like an Egyptian, like the song. Oh, man.
Yeah.